Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be learning how to make this beautiful corset that have a keyhole neckline and a basque waistline. So if this sounds like what we like to learn, then definitely keep watching. So guys, this is the pattern paper I'm going to be working with. So I've gone ahead to mark my starting line, which is going to be serving as the shoulder line. So from the top part, I'll go ahead and mark the shoulder to the bust point, which is 10 inches, the shoulder to the under bust, which is 13.5 inches, then the shoulder to the waist. In front I have 16.5 inches. Always take the exact measurement of your shoulder to your waist in front, and then the shoulder to the hip line. And after that, I went ahead to connect all the points I just marked. So I'm going to label this as my bust line, my under bust, my waistline, and then my hip line. So on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark the shoulder measurements divided by 2. And for my neckline, I'm going to mark 3 by 3 inches. This is just a standard neckline. You can make adjustments depending on what you want. So for my shoulder slant, I marked 1 inch. And after that, I went ahead to connect my points. So the next thing I'm going ahead to do is to mark my armhole measurements divided by 2. And then I'm going to connect my armhole arc, and that is going to be my chest line. So I'll go ahead and label it. So on the chest line, I'm going to mark the bust circumference divided by 4, and on my armhole line, I'm going to mark the middle point. So at this point, I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch, and then I'll connect all the points I just marked, and that's going to be my front armhole curve. So guys, the next thing we're going ahead to do now is to mark the nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. So the one I'm working with is 7 inches, so divided by 2 give me 3.5 inches. So I'm just going ahead to mark my 3.5 inches, and after that, I'm going to draw a straight line across. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take in my dart, and I'm going to be marking 1 inch on both sides because I'm working with a bust of 36 inches. So depending on the size of the bust you're working with, that will determine how much dart you're going to be taking in. So after marking my 1 inch, I went ahead to connect my points. So on the bust point, I will come down by 1/2 inch, and then I will connect from the under bust to the 1/2 inch I came down. So to determine how covered I want my corset to be, I went up by 2.5 inches. You can go with 3 inches, just depend on how covered you want your bust to be. And then I'm going to extend my dart line to that point. So for my corset bridge, I'm going to come up from the bust line by 1/2 inch, and then I will come in by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to use my marker pen to indicate the point, and then I will connect from that point to the under bust. Now for my over bust tightening, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on this side, then 1 inch on the other side, and then I will connect it to 1/2 inch before the bust point, just as you can see me do. So I'm just going ahead to blend in my curve line so that I don't have any sharp edge. So I'll go ahead and connect this part together just like this, and then I'll also connect from this point to meet with the armhole curve. So to get the perfect fit for my bust, I'm going to measure 4 inches from the bust point, which is the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus 1/2 inch, and then I will connect from the 4 inches to the under bust and also connect it to the armhole curve. So the next thing I'm going to do is to replace my dart intake. What I have here is 1.5 inches, so I'm going to replace it on the chest line. And after that, I will mark the under bust circumference divided by 4 plus my dart intake. And on the waistline, I'm going to mark the waist circumference divided by 4 plus my dart intake. And I'll also do the same thing on the hip line. I will mark the hip circumference divided by 4 plus my dart intake. And after that, I'll go ahead and connect my bodies. So the next thing we are going to do is to mark the bust dart. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches, which is the difference between the shoulder to the waist at the back from the shoulder to the waist at the front. So after marking my 1.5 inches, I went ahead to connect it to the bust point. So from the neckline, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch, and from this dart line, I will mark 1/2 inch. and then I will connect from the 1/2 inch to this point. I'm going to first of all use my pencil to connect my markings, and when I'm okay with that, I'll go ahead and blend in with my marker pen just to make it more visible. So I'm going to fold in my bust dart, and then I will go ahead to pin it down. So at this point, I'm going to blend in my curve line so that by the time I'm joining my working piece, I'm not going to have any shortage. And I'll also be blending in the side seam. So at this point, you can go ahead and divide your pattern into two. This is actually optional, and if you want any snatching on the waistline, you can go ahead and take 1/2 inch on both sides, and that will automatically take out about 2 inches from your waist measurement. So for the basque waistline, I'm going to come down from the waistline by 2 inches, and then I'll connect it to the center front. But before I do that, I'm going to first of all fold in my darts, and then I'll go ahead to connect to the center front. And now that I'm done doing that, I'll go ahead and cut out my front pattern. And so guys, if you have watched this video to this extent, please give it a thumbs up because it helps my channel a lot. And if there's any part of the video that you do not understand, drop your question in the comment section and I will do my best to attend to it. So I've gone ahead to label my cups area as my A and my B so that I don't get them mixed up. And now that I'm done cutting it out, I'll go ahead and set it aside and cut out my back piece. So for the back piece, I've gone ahead to mark my shoulder to my chest line, my shoulder to my bust, my shoulder to my waist at the back, and then my shoulder to my hip line. So I'll go ahead and label this as my chest line, my bust line, my waistline, and then my hip line. And I've also gone ahead to mark my shoulder measurement, my armhole curve, and then my neckline. For my neckline, I marked 3 by 1 inch. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I'm going to mark that all the way down to the hemline, and after that I'll go ahead and connect my points. So for my dart intake, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides, and I will do the same on the hemline. And when I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and connect my dart lines. So the next thing we are going to do now is to mark the rest of our body. So I will mark the waist circumference divided by 4 plus my dart intake, and on the hip line I will mark the hip circumference divided by 4 plus my dart intake, and after that I'll go ahead and connect my points. So just like I did for the front piece, I'm going to come down from the waistline by 2 inches, and from the center back I'm going to go up by 2 inches, and then I will go ahead and connect my markings. So at this point I went ahead to cut out my pattern. Now the next thing I did was to come down from the neckline by 1 inch, and then on the chest line I marked 5 inches. And after that I went ahead to connect my simple keyhole neckline. You can decide any kind of back neckline that you want, but I want mine to have this simple keyhole neckline. So for my lacing bar, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches, which is how open I want my center back to be. And after that I'll go ahead and connect my point. So now that I've done that, I'll go ahead and cut out the rest of my pattern. And so guys, if you know you have find this video useful and you want to see the sewing video, please go ahead, give it a thumbs up and drop it in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. And until I see you in my next video, stay blessed.